As we come to chapter 4, we come to a topic that can be really difficult to discuss. It's the topic of racism, which can be really sensitive, emotionally charged, and leaves us maybe feeling really passionate on one way or another, maybe feeling like we've not been heard, maybe feeling like we're being labeled. And so, but yet a relevant one for us to discuss. We see this topic in the news over and over, and it seems to just be ramping up all the time in our society. And so I think a lot of us have taken this approach of just kind of looking the other direction and saying, I'm just going to treat everybody the same. I think everybody is equal, and that's good. And I'm going to do that, and then eventually it's going to be fine. Except what we're finding is it's not fine. It's not solving problems the way that we had hoped that it would. In 2018, in December, I heard this statistic on National Public Radio, and it said that today, meaning December of 2018, that there were more Black men under the surveillance of the criminal justice system than all the slaves in 1850. And I heard that and I just thought, we are not where we want to be. We are not making the progress that we had hoped we would make. And of course, this topic would come up when I would go to visit Aaron in prison, because what I observed was that what I called skewed racial diversity when I would go there. Because in the US population in general, there's about 12% or so of the population that identifies with the race of Black. But in the prison, the incarcerated population is about 37% Black. And that's really big, right? And so I would observe that when I would go there, and that really caused me to look introspectively, do more research, kind of find out what was going on. I already had some information about mass incarceration, but it caused me to go a little bit deeper into that. The other thing is, as I was getting to know Aaron and I was working on writing the book, he was sharing a lot of information with me about his life that, some things about his life that were really terrific, but a lot of things about his life that were not maybe his greatest moment, right? And so I felt like as if I was asking him to share that information, then it was only fair that I would do that as well. And so you get a little bit of taste of that in chapter 4 when I share a story with you about going to the YMCA in my small town that I lived in. And I'm going to share that story with you today. So when my kids were little, they were 8 and 7 and 5, and I would take them to the YMCA with me at night, and I was that tired mom who didn't want to go to the Y. And so I would do what I would call the passive workout, right? And the passive workout went like this. I took my kids there and got them doing some kind of activity, and then I would go to the sauna. Now the sauna is small town, so it's co-ed sauna, which sounds a little weird, I know, but all of us would pack in there in our sweaty gym clothes, and we would share stories of the day. And it would be, so relaxing for me, because I would get to laugh and just relax. And you know what? And I was still burning calories because I was sweating and my heart rate was going up. So that's how I called it the passive workout. But anyway, so on this particular night, sometimes when I would go to the sauna, I would find that my kids I'd get out of the sauna and I thought, they were being real active at the Y, and I would find them watching the TV in the lobby. And this, of course, is not what I desired them to be doing. So this particular night, I tell them, walk the track here, stay together. I had my 7 and 8-year-old with me that night. And I said, I'm going to go to the sauna. You know where it is if you need me. I'll be back to get you in 10 to 15 minutes. And so I just got settled into the sauna, listened to the first good story of the night, and there's a frantic knock at the door. And I opened the door to the sauna to find my daughter crying and all upset. And I asked her what the matter is. And she says that they were walking the track and some man started chasing them. And she knew just to come to me. And so I asked what any parent would ask. I said, where is your sister? And she says, I don't know. And so this is the moment where I get a little bit panicked. And so I look to the door to head out to find my daughter. And in through the door comes Joe. And this was a very reassuring face for me. Joe was the face of the Y. He had worked there as long as I had been a member. He greeted members by name. He had funny stories and bits of encouragement to share for members. So he was a very reassuring face for me. And he tells me immediately he knows where my daughter is. And I'm relieved, I'm glad. But this next thing he tells me has me feeling uneasy. And he says, I was trying to get their attention just to let them know they can't walk the track without an adult. And as he says this, I get this sinking, sick feeling in my stomach. You know, this feeling that you get when you know that something that you have desired to be the outcome is not what's happened. You know that you just haven't got it quite right. That's the feeling I had. And so Joe says that he'll take me to get my daughter at the front desk. And I apologize that I didn't know that they could walk on the track. He says, it's no big deal, you know. I say, no, it's no problem. I could get my daughter at the desk. So I go down to get my daughter. I get them, and on the way home, I reassure them everything's fine. Joe's fine. But that sinking, sick feeling stays with me. And here's why. Because there was nothing intimidating about Joe. Joe was working at the Y that night. He had his YMCA shirt on. He had his YMCA name tag on. Joe is a medium build, middle-aged, mild-mannered Black man. And I knew. So I get home and I tell my husband what happens, and he knows Joe too. And he also has that sinking, sick feeling in his stomach, and he knows too that there's nothing intimidating about Joe. There's no reason that my daughters should have run from Joe, but they did. And so they must have run from Joe because of the color of his skin. And I feel like this would be a really eye-opening and sad moment for most parents to realize this. But for us, it was even more weighted because 2 of our children were internationally adopted. So 2 of our children do not share the white skin that my husband and I have. And so this was undoubtedly teaching diversity and, fair treatment to each person was a real central focus in our family. And so to find out that we weren't getting it right was really disturbing for us. And so my husband and I, we prayed and we asked God to lead us to opportunities, and we started looking for opportunities to teach our girls what we desired them to know about the world. And you can read on in the book and you'll see that over time we were able to speed up and lots of progress was made in this area. And it's pretty amazing, some of the stories to see how that has happened. But I think that all of us have our own story of Joe, where we can look back in our life and we can think, I just didn't get that right. I missed the boat there. And there's always the choice. There's the choice of saying, I missed the boat. I'm not going to do it next time. But then we don't make a plan as to how we're not going to do it next time. Or to excuse it away and say, well, it's probably because of this or that. But I think if we can have the courage to name it and say, you know what, that looks like bias in my life. That looks like something that wasn't looking at that person as equal or fair, or that looks like something I need to work on. And I think if we have the courage to do that the people around us will welcome that, number one. Whether they're the same race as us or a different race than us, I think that they'll realize that, you know what, we're willing to come to the table to learn. And I think that we'll realize that none of us are perfect. We already know that, but it's our ability to say, I want to be better tomorrow than I am today. So today, I encourage you to look back at those stories or watch for those stories in your life where you run into your own bias and just to see it and name it and then start having conversations about it. So I hope you're having a good time reading the book and that you're finding those stories are relating to some of the stories in your own life.